Members of the board, members of the community, it is not often that I'm at a loss for words. But following that incredible speech and presentation, I think it's just a symbol of how special this community is. Listening to Danielle speak reminds me of my favorite Dr. Martin Luther King quote, which is about compassion. And I intended on already speaking a little bit about compassion and leadership tonight, but Dr. Martin Luther King once said that simply flinging a coin to a beggar is not true compassion. It's realizing that there's an edifice that creates that beggar, and that needs to be restructured, and actually doing it. I may not have had it verbatim when I'm close. But the idea here between compassion and student leadership, adult leadership, whether it's through esports, whether it's through philanthropy and partnership, or commitment to be a part of your local governance process and attending your board meeting, showing up matters. I had an opportunity over the last, 48 hours to meet with every principal in this district. And we talked about the realities and the complexities of what it's like to be an educator and a leader in our district right now. It's probably no different than the complexities of being a board member or being a parent, a neighbor, or even a student. Showing up matters. I had an opportunity over the break to get a gift from one of our members of our community to get a book called One Word That Will Change Your Life. The author is actually in this room and going to be speaking to us tonight. As I read that book, it was, I thought, a call to action in terms of thinking about one word that can provide us direction, that can provide you personally, us individually, or us even as a system purpose, to give us commitment, deeper sense of commitment and alignment. I had a coffee with this author today with one of our board members, DJ, thank you. And the word came to me of what I would say my one word is right now is drive. How do we drive compassion in our community? How do we drive strength in our community? How do we continue to drive resilience in our community? Conversations. But also I feel compelled to make sure that we have a call to action to drive results for all of our children, because we only get one chance to have them in our school system at our respective grades. There's a lot of conversation in the local media, as well as in our community and in our various homes that make our community, around what's happening in our community right now in terms of our school system staying open and potentially going to remote. I want you to know the baseline here is not to just keep our doors open. It's to keep our doors open and teach our hearts out. We cannot go back, and you've been clear with me, and I'm clear with you. We're a partnership and a governance team that is strong and united, that we stand strong and committed to in-person learning, but doing so safely and making decisions along the way that is informed by data. I think as we continue to think about my one word, I'd like to share it with you around drive. We got to figure out ways to drive through these challenges. I'm flanked by a cabinet here, an executive leadership team that did not have holidays. They worked over the break to make sense of the various complexities of the new guidance and the second iteration of guidance from the federal level, sometimes the absence of guidance, all to make sure that we work around the clock to provide some level of clarity, the best way we can for our families to have confidence in us before they return into our buildings. We have 53 principals that make this school system strong, with various assistant principals and other leaders who help make sure that things go. We have a few of our schools, ladies and gentlemen, that are holding it together barely as a result of staff shortages. The announcement that I made prior to the return to school was not to instoke fear amongst this community. It was just to name simply the realities and the challenges that our school system is dealing with on a day-to-day basis, all in service of making sure our doors stay open and children get to smile and walk through them each and every day. And we get to not just feed them and take care of them, but educate their hearts and their minds like Danielle and her siblings. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. We had 40 custodians out today across the school system, which meant people picked up those pieces, whether they're teachers, cleaning their own rooms, principals being the lead engineers of their schools and trying to figure out how to make sure that their facility continues to be spotless, whether it's our operations department mobilizing an all hands on deck approach to retool and think about differently and creatively, various people, whether you're in the trades or different positions. How do we make sure that we do whatever we can, regardless of whatever our job description is? That's happening not just today, it's happened every day since we returned. There is a lot happening that's not in the media and not in the press. We have some schools that have 15 to 20 teachers out right now. But principals are thinking creatively and instinctively to make sure, especially knowing that children are already on the way to their schools, to think creatively through volunteerism, paraprofessionals, our classified staff, figuring out ways not just to think about how we create coverage for students, because we're not glorified babysitters. We're focused on quality education. And I've just been so impressed by every constituent level in this organization that includes our teachers who are navigating these various complexities, both in the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. And I'm also incredibly proud of this community, our parents and our students who are navigating that with us. In order to drive compassion in this system and understanding and empathy of what people are experiencing, we have to sit down and continue to talk to each other. I want to acknowledge that the feelings that exist in our community are all over the place. And I say that with respect and humility. And what I mean by that is there's fear, there's frustration, there's anger, there's hostility, but there's also love and light and brilliance and hope and optimism. And every day we have a choice on which one we want to choose to focus on. My one word, and I want to thank Jimmy Page as being one of the authors for this book, I drive towards light and love, just like the people who are here tonight, even when we disagree. But I also want to drive confidence. We're not always going to get it right. I promise you I will never tell you and or this board that we're going to be perfect. But I will tell you that we are giving it everything we can, 100 billion%, to stay committed to not just keeping our buildings open, but making sure our students receive in-person instruction, but doing so safely. There are changes that you will hear tonight to COVID protocols. We're making sense of them in real time, just the way that you are. But I do believe it enables and empowers us to keep our buildings open, but we have to also keep staff and people healthy along the way in order to do that well. I just am extraordinarily inspired by the people that I get a chance to do life and work with every day. And that's what I wanted to speak to you about. That's what Danielle reminded all of us about, as well as the other people who surround us. And I'm just really grateful for that opportunity and for you providing me the time to celebrate that this evening. So thank you.